a third generation, veteran owned small business. I believe that the American way of life is for all of us. I'm asking you today to visit Flagshirt
party meetings, you can also make an announcement for anyone that would like to become involved and to actually be a commissioner in one of these special districts. Please step up, sign an interest form, figure them out there. We found that in 2024, we probably had about 20 members at one meeting sign up for special districts across our county, and we put 18 of them in office that year. Many of them can also wind up getting elected because they have no competition whatsoever. Some people don't even know that they exist. So on the date of final date of qualifying, in many cases, you can get your people in office. And one little strategy that we look for is we hold back on the applications and we show the candidates, hey, wait until you get very close, a day or two out, and then look and see who's filed. If you see an open seat, switch your number on the seat number and run for that particular seat. You're probably going to get elected. So now they have experience making decisions with taxpayer dollars. They have experience with Robert's rules. They've perhaps been on a ballot in the local area. So voters have already seen their names. So they're becoming more of a household name in their area. Now, let's say in an area like Broward, which we're highly blue in Broward, maybe 1.7 Democrats to every one Republican, but they're now used to seeing our Republican names, but nonpartisan positions. So we're interested in the nonpartisan roles where it doesn't say a D or an R next to it. You have more wins in that area. If you have an area that's blue and you're focused on getting Republicans in office, pay attention to your nonpartisan races, because it's your nonpartisan races that you can win. When you win enough when our candidates win enough nonpartisan races and go from special district to city commissioner to mayor, now they've been voted for enough times. The Democrats, the independents, and the Republicans trust them as a household name. And that's a great path. And that's something that each and every one of us can work on and do and explore and learn, and it will make an actual difference in our county. Steve, you've seen us go through some of this. Do you have any input or questions, for me on any of that?
No, we're good. Time's up. We appreciate everything you've told everybody, and we'll get you on again. Thank you very much, Chris. You're a great chair, and I know you've done a wonderful job. Our next guest from Kansas, Roger Lumshak. Come on down, Roger.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Great.
So Chris covered an awful lot of the local activism from the standpoint of getting into the precinct system and becoming involved, running for these local lower level offices to start to get some experience so that you can be ready for more advanced offices or higher level offices if that's what a person is after. The thing that I would want to talk to about to build on that is how to get people involved to help you do those things. You need to find some kind of unifying cause, and you need to make sure that you and the people you're with are educated enough on that subject that you can actually do something with it. You need to find those like-minded individuals. How do you do that in a county system that's you probably don't know everyone unless it's a very small rural county, and that's a matter of starting to attend these meetings, look for people on Facebook, join groups, get even something as simple as finding the people with the right bumper stickers on the vehicles in the Walmart parking lot. That we've used things like that to recruit precinct committee members here. If there's a pretty good chance, if you've got somebody driving around with a Gadsden flag bumper sticker or a license plate or even a U.S. flag in the back of their truck or car window, chances are they're probably on your side in general, and somebody that would at least be worth striking up a conversation with, so that you could start to see if they'd be interested in joining you in the precinct system, or just volunteering with the party in general to be a helper, even if that precinct is occupied by someone. Beyond that, once you start building up your network with these people, you need to communicate with them, keep them going. For me, I don't trust Facebook for anything serious. I've always used Signal for communications that I don't have to worry about being censored. Facebook, more than once during the COVID wars, was extremely good about deleting messages when I would try to send them, and so we rapidly learned not to trust them for that. For myself, after I got involved during COVID, I became a precinct committee member because I had already formed a fairly large parents group to fight the COVID stuff in our county. we joined the party as a large group and essentially kind of became our local county party. In the 4.5 years since then, I've now been elected to the state party treasurer and am helping statewide with voter outreach for races, setting them up with voter outreach app and training the campaign administrators or campaign managers and candidates how to utilize that so they can reach out. Depending on a person's tech level, that may or may not be something that somebody's comfortable with, but they can certainly at least learn how to help with door knocking, how to help with one-on-one calling to reach out to people, do any number of things that can make a big difference. If you're going to be interested in running for office, one thing I would mention that I don't think Chris touched on was you have to make sure that you're legal. By that I mean that you're not doing anything to violate campaign finance laws. Every state's different, but it is absolutely critical to make sure that you're following every campaign finance rule. In my experience, in the 4 years I've been involved, the first 2 years probably, the Democrats tried to get me in trouble with our state campaign finance board 3 times. They failed because we were doing everything right, and it was the investigations, if you want to call them that, were closed with a simple phone call where they asked me what we were doing. I told them, I showed them what we were doing, and of course had all of our paperwork filed, so we were completely fine and had no problem. But it's something that is definitely an avenue your opposition will use to exploit if you're not doing things right and running for any kind of office. Let's see, as far as helping your political party, if you're brand new, you're hopping in as a precinct committee member, one thing, even if it's already filled, you need to reach out to your county chair and find out as a first step. If a person's not been involved yet, I wouldn't recommend coming in swinging a battle axe and thinking that you're going to save the world, but instead join them with the purpose of trying to help them and then see what's going on and where you can be of assistance. When we started up, we had all kinds of people offering ideas. One of them was from one of our lady precinct members. She wanted to know if we could set up a booth at the local festival on Labor Day weekend. And my first thought was, man, that's stupid. Nobody's going to want to do that. Everybody's there to eat funnel cakes and have a good time. And we did it, and it was an incredible success. We registered people to vote all day. And we've ever since then, we don't miss a festival anywhere in our county that we set up. And, yeah, some of us get sunburned and we're out there sweating it out in a little pop-up tent in the park, but it's totally been worth it. We obviously use that for advertising our candidates too. We have signs people can pick up and take. And at least the first few times we did that over the first year or two, the number of people who came up and said, oh, we haven't seen the Republicans here forever, but the Democrats are always coming out. Well, that to me was a pretty big sign that there was a need for it. And so we've made that a absolute priority to do. We've also got a group that hits every parade in the county. Everything from the smallest town to the biggest town, we've had our float in, I think, every single parade for the last 4 years. And it again does a lot to build momentum, generate enthusiasm, and get people fired up so that they actually want to they want to get involved, they want to get out and vote because they're seeing those constant reminders. And I think that's a super important thing. One more thing I would recommend is anybody who's wanting to get involved should get some training. That might be something, if you really have a switched on county party, maybe they have some training. If not, maybe your state party does. I know one thing that I've taken advantage of are the free online trainings from the Leadership Institute. They have hundreds of hours of free online trainings with all kinds of subjects: how to run for school board, how to run for different local offices, what to do as a campaign manager, what to do as a candidate. All kinds of great courses that can definitely be a huge help. And I would encourage everybody to find out what's available. Reach out to your county party, reach out to your state party, or even your district chair within the party, and just ask them. And if you don't get a response, bug them. Don't go away after they don't answer. There's a very, very high probability they're extremely busy. All of us are doing this on a volunteer basis. And I promise you, in general, if I forget to respond to somebody's text message or email, it's not because I don't want to talk to them. It's just that 400 other things happened before I had a chance. So absolutely be persistent, keep at it. And if you just don't get any response, then move on down the up or down the food chain until you find somebody who will talk to you and help you out. I don't know, what kind of questions do you have? Anything for me?
It's going to be not so
We
pretty.
appreciate you coming on today. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to our next guest. Our next
All
guest
right.
is Jeff Davis from South Carolina, mysc.top. Good friend of the program, always there for us when we need him. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, Steve, thank you for all you do, and Velma and the rest of your team down there. Thank you for what you're pushing, and I'm excited about those shirts you got. So the 250 shirts. So we'll be referring everybody down there to get those for next week. It's going to be exciting. The 250 is just over the top, and it's really an exciting time. We've got a lot of people going to DC, and I hope they'll be wearing your shirts down there. But I know this segment is about precinct reorganization. We've been in this, I hate to call it a biz, but in this fight with the rhino establishment here in the state of South Carolina. I will tell you, it is it's a blood sport here. We are one of the early primary states. So you really get the political consultants and millions and millions and millions of dollars that have flowed into the state of South Carolina. And the same thing goes on in Iowa and New Hampshire and now Nevada and those types of things. So it's really it's really one of the main types early states that the establishment wants to keep control of. But just to give you the big picture, for what I like to look at, is the big picture. What is precinct reorganization? Every 2 years, we literally reorganize the entire Republican Party from the basic precinct to your county, to your state, to the RNC. It is an opportunity to take over or take back the party for the grassroots and for the MAGA America First movement, is to really get involved in this precinct reorganization. Ours here in the state of South Carolina happens on odd number years. Our next, it'll be in the month of March for the precincts. The counties will do their conventions in April, and then the state convention will be in May of next year. So that's kind of the process. But this process goes on in every state. So the first step in all this is to find out, if you're not here in the state of South Carolina. Obviously, if you're here in South Carolina, you can reach out to us at myscgop.com or myscgop.news. We got a news blog going on. Or here at the largest county, it's Greenville County GOP.com. And we will certainly point you to the America First people in our state to kind of take back the SCGOP, because it is still run by the rhino establishment. But if you're in a different state, try to find out, connect with, try to find the America First people, go on True Social, those types of things. Find people that are fighting this fight, because I can promise you, we are everywhere. We're all over the country. Trump did not win because he got a consortium of moderates and rhinos. He won because the MAGA America First movement stepped up and went out and voted and elected him into the presidency 3 times. So, as we all know, but find out where that is, and then you might ask yourself, why is precinct reorganization so important? And I like to tell people, and I tell people in my personal precinct, precinct reorganization is important because, again, it's the grassroots, it's the ability to take over and get the bully pulpit of the SCGOP or your local county Republican Party, your state Republican Party, and ultimately the national Republican Party. It's an ability to kind of get that bully pulpit. We don't make laws, we don't do things like that, but we can push the agenda one way or another, especially when it comes to candidates and candidate qualifications and being able to reference and push money and find donors for those particular candidates and that are more MAGA America First. And that's what we've been doing here in the state of South Carolina. But with precinct reorganization, there's really, I look at, you are a patriot. We're not asking everybody to work 24/7 like the crazy people that we are, and Steve Bannon and everybody else. Steve Bannon literally has a show twice a day, 3 hours a day, and on Saturdays, and he's just working 24/7 on this type of stuff. We are too. But to be a patriot and really to support the MAGA America First movement, we need people to, number one, come out to your local precinct reorganization every other year. We need you to vote in the primaries for the most conservative Republican available that's on your ballot. And then third, obviously, you can vote in November for the Republican as opposed to the Democrat. So normally, in most of these states, you'll find that the the race for which Republican is going to be elected is over in the primaries. But like here in the state of South Carolina, we literally have or have had in the past 15% voter turnout. Now, this past, we're right in the middle of our Republican primaries. We had it a week or 2 weeks ago tomorrow, and our runoff will, for the governor and for the South Carolina Attorney General and the ag commissioner will be tomorrow. So we got people coming out from all over the place. So we've been swamped in 24/7 here. But we really need a more MAGA America First voters to come out during these primaries. But the first step is to get control of your local party through the precinct reorganization process. Then start helping those candidates, get elected in your primaries, and then obviously seal the deal in November when we're fighting the Democrats. But the other big picture of all this is, why do I guess it's to get better, precinct. Think about this: precinct reorganization allows you to get the bully pulpit of your local county party. You get that bully pulpit, we then can help influence and push people in the right direction on, because, we're everywhere. Trump supporters are everywhere, but they don't always know who to vote for, and they, with all due respect to our president, he's great, he's fantastic. He gets people whispering in his ear sometimes that aren't exactly the best candidates out there. We all know that. It's kind of humorous and funny, but he's being misled sometimes. But we have to sit there and help guide our local constituency on who to vote for. So by having, I hate to say control, but having some authority in the bully pulpit of your local county party or your state party, you can then alert the masses, the people out there that have lives and jobs and families and all that kind of good stuff to take care of, but are of like mind. So you can use your bully pulpit of the party to get better candidates elected. And that's really what's important. If we can take the bully pulpit of our local parties, if we can get better candidates elected, what's step number 3? We're going to get better laws. So, if we got to get more of our like-minded folks involved in the party so they can help with the bully pulpit of electing the right candidates, so then we can ultimately get better laws and more MAGA, America First, limited government, real school choice, all those good things. Election integrity obviously is a massive issue. And thanks to Steve for getting, Mr. Stern for getting Tina Peters on here. I know she's coming on at 2:00. I think that's exciting. If you want to talk about a patriot that has stood up for America and really engaged in the fight, in the battle, it is Tina Peters. And I remember Steve Bannon saying one time, if you're not ready to go to jail, you're not ready for this fight. So she actually ended up having to do that, unfortunately. But I'm glad to see her out. I'm glad what we're doing here today, and actually will help support her in coming back and getting some better election integrity laws passed and bring some more attention to this. But that's what we're doing here in South Carolina, and happy to answer any more questions or tell you a little bit more about some of the local politics and stuff like that. But we really want to get more people involved, and the more people we can get involved in the party, that's the key operative thing. Because I will tell you, I'm 59 years old now. I was a lifelong Republican, always voted, always voted in the primaries. I thought that was my civic duty. I was the problem child, in the sense that I probably voted for whoever the most signs I saw as I drove to the ballot box or to the polling location. And that's really not what it is. What we're trying to do is fight back against the money that's misleading people out there, and there's a whole lot of it. So what we're trying to do is get more people involved in the party. We had, as I said, we had 15% voter turnout here in the state of South Carolina generally in our primaries. Our big push through the Greenville County Republican Party and through some of our other MAGA America First upstate GOPs and other GOPs that we have out of our 46 counties, we were pushing voter turnout. And this past primary, I guess, 13 days ago, we got it all the way up to 26% statewide. So that's what we want to do. And if you've ever talked to the political consultants out there, especially the Rhino establishment political consultants, they won't low voter turnout. They know they can control the narrative, control the message, and all of that type of stuff if they have lower voter turnout. So one of our general rules is do the opposite. So, if they won't low voter turnout, then probably the smart thing to do is actually do the opposite what the political consultants want, and try to push and get more voter turnout. But obviously we need informed voter turnout. So one of the things that we did here at the Greenville GOP, and the other thing, if you're getting involved in your party, I would highly recommend getting a location, getting a building. We have a headquarters building here. As I said, we kind of got elected into our positions back in 2021. We immediately, I think in the January or December of 21, we actually got a headquarters building. There's 35,000 cars drive by every day, and we put signs out there and invites to come to constitutional classes and all that kind of stuff. We literally had a gentleman just step in here a few minutes ago that's waiting on his citizenship. It's Italian, but he loves Trump, and he wants to vote for, can't vote for Trump anymore, but unless he happens to run in 2028, but he wants to get and support the MAGA America First movement. But what we also do is we put together a newspaper. Imagine that, old school, obviously social media and Facebook's the devil, and all that kind of stuff. But you got to get out there and reach out and communicate to as many people as you can find. We had, I think, about 1,400 people, 1,400 people at our county convention last May. We did have Steve Bannon come down as our keynote speaker. So we were very. Yes, sir. Yeah, but again, it's just about getting more people involved, reaching out to more people. Any way you can do it, get out there and do it. And thank you Steve, for what you guys are doing down there out of Florida.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. We got a lot of people on today. So our next guest from Georgia, Susan Haddad, and you talk about you had low turnout. They had about 6% turnout. So wow. We can understand that. Okay, go ahead, Susan.
Hi, everybody. Well, as you said, my name is Suzanne Haddad. There's actually 4 of us together work about 43.
You're breaking up a little bit there, Susan.
Okay. I have about 10 precincts that I take care of, and we have total 42 precincts that we work with. So Georgia has 159 counties, 14 congressional districts as well, and we just went through the election process, and yes, we only had, I've heard, like 6%. I don't know if that is for the state of Georgia or if that was just Cherokee County, but runoffs traditionally have a low turnout, but that was a really low turnout, which was just seemed like a lot of people. But anyways, we're also focused, besides focusing on the general election, which is coming up in November, which is very important. We're focusing on preparing for the convention season that's coming up in spring of 2027, and it will start out with the precinct, and that's where everybody has a chance to come in. You're going to be sitting in your precinct. You're going to be with your neighbors. This is like the smallest unit of the Republican Party. And this is also where you vote too. So you want to get people in, and you're going to do it, which one call is a precinct committee, which is a precinct chair, a vice chair, and a precinct secretary. Now you can have other officers too. It just depends on what the precinct wants to do and bylaws say in your county. But for the most part, you want to have at least those 3 positions filled. And so when you after you start preparing for that, the next step you would be preparing for is the county committee. Well, actually, let me back up a minute. The mass precinct caucus, you're also going to be voting in your delegates. That's going to go to your county convention, and you'll be picking delegates and alternates. And alternates are there in case delegates don't show up. A lot of people get disappointed when they made an alternate, but it's a lot of times that a delegate doesn't show up, then an alternate can move up. But that just ensures we've got a good vote count for our delegation and that. But so the next step would be the county convention, and we at that county convention we are going to pick again our county delegates and alternates, And in Georgia, we have what they call over 80s and under 80s counties, and it's based on population. So you're going to have like one, they're usually on different Saturdays. So it's like a Saturday that you're going to come in and you plan on spending half of a day at least there, getting involved with that. So then after that, the next step after the county convention, you're going to have, well, at the county convention, you're forming your county committee. And at that county, you're going to be voting in your county executive committee, which will, you're voting on delegates. And the executive committee is going to be like county chair, your first vice chair of membership, vice chair of fundraising, vice chair of elected officials, secretary, assistant secretary, treasurer and assistant treasurer. And it kind of depends on your county, how their bylaws are set up and what officers they have in one of the precincts. But the county committee will then, they're going to be voting district and also your state delegates. So this is really important. You get people that are going to go through the whole process. It's really important because really the goal is to have a good delegation.
We're gonna have to cut you because you're coming in and out, that we have bad connection. We'll get you back on again at another time.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming on. Our next guest is from Iowa, Teresa Horton, longtime friend of ours. Susan, thanks for everything you do in Georgia. I know you do a great job. We're sorry you just had a bad connection.
Okay, sorry, Steve.
All right, Teresa, you're on. You want to unmute? All right, seem to have some technical problem there. Melissa, you want to see if you can get on Cynthia? All right, we want to welcome from Missouri, Cynthia Haggard. Come on down.
Hi, thank you for having me on today. So just like everybody else, we're close to reorganization time in Missouri. Ours happens in August. I'm not sure how we're organized compared to other states, but here we start out with a central committee, committee man and woman that are elected in August at the primary. And then it rolls through a legislative district set of officers, senatorial district, congressional district, judicial district. Ultimately, the state committee is reelected and we end up with a new state chair. So that starts with the primary in August and runs until sometime in January by the time it's all done. So we've been working since last, I would say, October to get grassroots people in significant places. We came within 3 votes at the state committee reorganization 2 years ago of having a grassroots chair, I think possibly for the first time ever. I joined this group in the Republican Party in 2015, 2016, when I moved back to Missouri, and we've never had a grassroots state chair since I've been involved with the organization. So last time we came within 3 votes. We're hoping to make that a majority this time and have the grassroots take over. So towards that end, there's a lot of work we've been doing at what you would call the precinct level. I just found today, as a matter of fact, an app called Neighborhood that I'm going to check into. It's an online app that allows you to organize by groups. You can be citywide or you can be a much smaller neighborhood, and allows you to stay in touch with each other. So I'm thinking this might be a really good opportunity and it's a national program, for people to be able to use to connect with their local voters, Republican voters within their precinct. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that everyone has, is being able to find the voters who are going to come out and vote and support you at a committee level so that you can get involved at your committee level and then move on up if you have an interest in doing that. Other than just door knocking or using GOP data center information, which is sketchy at best. This is an opportunity to actually get people together and keep them informed of things that are going on. So I'm looking into that this week to see if it turns out to be a good option for us. I chair an organization called Repack Mo, so I'm not currently a chair of the central committee, I chair a group called REPAC-MO, and it's Republican Association of Central Committees, and I think the website is under my name on the screen. We formed back in 23 because we weren't happy with the way the GOP treats the central committees, essentially. REPAC-MO, the board of directors is comprised of former central committee chairs, county committee chairs, and we exist to provide the training and the support that the GOP doesn't for central committees. So we provide classes. We do everything from statutes, what you should know about the statutes that affect the party, to training classes. We have classes in bylaws. Our state statutes allow for very minimal qualifications to get on a central committee. There's absolutely nothing to keep the Democrat Party from taking over our central committees. Basically, you have to be an eligible voter and live in your district for a year. So that's it. So REPAC-MO developed a set of bylaws that has additional qualification requirements. One of them is vetting. The people on your central committee, just like the people hopefully in your state legislature that are Republicans, ought to actually be Republicans. So we developed a vetting procedure that's being used statewide. We teach classes on that. We teach classes to show central committees what their responsibilities are. How do you grow your organization at your county level? Fundraisers, free events to recognize law enforcement or first responders, get out the vote drives, all those kinds of things that help people become aware of the Republican Party. A headquarters is super important. Staffing is always a challenge, but a headquarters is really important, especially when we're in an election cycle. We actually, our classes include things like one-day websites. You know, it's amazing how many central committees don't have anybody to run a website, let alone know how to create one. So we show them the steps in creating a website in a day. Here's your final format. This is what it's going to look like when you're done. And then it's a hands-on class, and we show you how to actually do that and get the entire website built in a day. You walk away just having to buy a domain name and pay a hosting fee. So that's basically what REPAC-MO does. We get involved too with legislative issues. We just recently had the state GOP attempt to change us back from a caucus form of selecting our presidential preference to going back to what they call the presidential preference primary, the PPP. There were some shenanigans that were pulled, and REPAC-MO stepped up and made everybody aware of it and got it shut down at the legislative level with the help of some senators. So we get involved in those areas as well. That's about it as far as anything information that I have. If you've got any questions, Steve.
No questions. We appreciate it very much for coming on today. And our next guest, we'll try to bring back Teresa Horton from Iowa. Teresa, I can see you. You want to unmute?
Me.
Okay, we can see you and you're good.
Okay, perfect. So voter integrity, we come from, there's a university in our town. There's a lot of young people die. And so, our super.
Teresa, we got a bad connection. Teresa. Are you on your computer?
Oh, no. I'm on my
Melissa,
phone.
Yeah, your phone is bad. We're going to have to take you out. Melissa, you want to bring back Velma? Let's go over a couple of things while we try to get her back. Go ahead, Velma. You want to come back with some information there, and then
Okay, sure thing. Yeah, I know everyone, I think everyone right now is really working hard on primary season. And my understanding is that, for precinct recruiting and getting involved with the precinct level, becoming a precinct committee person, every county, every state has different procedures. Some are elected, or some are appointed, some are by caucus, some are by convention. Some it happens every year, some is every other year. So it gets a little complicated, but something that's really, really important right now, with 2026 is primary season and our 2026 elections. And so it's a lot for folks to really juggle and balance out. Like what we're trying to do with Precinct Project USA is give folks an opportunity to get connected with each other, find a way to meet people, to learn from folks who are currently involved, formerly involved. I know something that has been coming up a lot is that folks who are trying to become a precinct committee person, or folks who have been in the precinct committee, have been having challenges kind of keeping their seat, or working with the way that they were elected, and moving forward with that. And there does seem to be a lot of change, and so of course you got to go with the motions, go with the flow of how things are progressing. And especially with the party and ebbs and flows looking forward to 2028, it seems like there's a lot of confusion and a lot of challenges in different states. So I think this is one of the reasons why moving forward, beginning in July, we're going to be having a
what is the latest electric bill that you can remember paying?
Our latest was $593. Last month it was $603. I have never, ever paid that kind of money.
$17,000, and someone was going to do a match for that, and for the telethon that you did, and I'm very grateful for that. You know, as you know and can imagine, the ongoing legal burden is great. But right now, my case is in the Colorado Supreme Court, and you know, I'm hoping that they're smart enough to do the right thing. To, when I say that, I mean to not make the mistake they made with trying to keep Trump off the ballot, Norma Jean Anderson, and versus Trump. And Jenna Griswold, of course, jumped on that. And, you know, it was the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 in Trump's favor. So I'm hoping that the Colorado Supreme Court will not want another smackdown, because my First Amendment rights and all of your First Amendment rights were violated in attempting to mute the voices of the people that want to speak out and redress their government, which is a constitutional right. You cannot punish someone for their freedom of speech. And so those are all the things that were done to me and more. You know, as you know, they took my husband, they tried to take my house, they took my office illegally. You know, you can't you can't get rid of an elected official except for by, in my case, it should have been by a recall. They tried a recall didn't work. The people elected me. And when you take an oath to I took an oath to the Colorado Constitution, and I took an oath to the U.S. Constitution. And the U.S. Constitution, as you know very well, and you spoke about this so much on your show, is, you know, we have the right to preserve election records. And the election records that were deleted off the server, that, you know, people can go to tinapeters.us and see the reports. You can see in highlighted in red, you can see the ones that were deleted, 29,000. That's a federal crime. But Jenna Griswold still, not only does she still walk free, Steve, she walks free and is running for the highest attorney in the state of Colorado, which is the Attorney General. And you know what she's running on? I've heard her ads. She's running on opposing Trump and her work in putting me in prison. That she put me in prison for tampering or breaching election equipment. None of my charges were ever tampering with or breaching election equipment. None of my charges were ever having an unauthorized person in the election sphere in my office, because those were not charges that were brought against me. The charges were, one of the most egregious charges was a felony, an F4 felony, for influencing the man who was sitting there deleting 29,000 election records off of the Mesa County server that I was sworn by oath to protect, preserve, and you know, these are election records. You cannot do that. So it's been all upside down. I hope that the Colorado Supreme Court will see that their wisest choice is to overturn my convictions. You know, I have felonies, I have misdemeanors. I can't carry a firearm to protect myself. You know, and so I have to pay for security. You know, sometimes they're paid in in a lot of love and donations from you guys, but and that's really the fight that I'm facing right now, Steve. But here's the thing, you know, they put me away because they were so afraid of what I would say, and I never stopped saying it. And through you and the many of hundreds and thousands of people who continue to be a voice for me, for my freedom, but most important for the elections that we hold most dear in this country. So we will continue to fight, but I do need help. You know, I don't like to ask people for anything. I'm one of those people. I'll, when you take an oath and you stand up, you do whatever's required. But I won't let people down. I will continue to pursue this.
So first of all, you look terrific. Say you're in prison for 2 years. And I know. How did you get to be in this situation? Good.
Get in the situation that I'm in, like that I was raided by the FBI and indicted and sent to prison. Is that what you're talking about? That one?
We had a little verbal. How did you get healthy so fast?
Oh, how did I get healthy so fast? Well, I'm very tired still. So I have to pace myself. And that's why I haven't been out doing a lot of shows. And for security reasons, when I'm finished with this show, I will be at another location. And I would say because it's the hope within me, it's, I feel very much inspired to continue what I began, and with all of your help was continued and multiplied. That's what drives me. So, I am doing the good things because I didn't have very good food, obviously, and nutrition in prison. So there is a difference. People say she was in jail. No, I was in jail. I was in the Mesa County Jail. I was in the Larimer County Jail. And then I was sent to prison. Prison is much different than jail. And so, having seen all those and having been through all those, I see also being a former business owner and administrative boss and things like that. I see things in the prison system that also needs to be changed. And so, there's a lot of work still to do, but we have to start with the foundation of elections, because we wouldn't be dealing with all the problems that we have in this country if it wasn't for the foundational issue of elections and people being put into office, being installed into office that the people did not vote for. And so that will be continue to be my major thrust, is making it so that the everyday person, that their vote counts. It's not diluted by machines. It's not diluted by other unauthorized people voting to dilute their vote. And but that's what gives me the wind beneath my wings, is the people out there that are standing with me, Steve. They're standing up and and I like your last guest, and it was a horrible thing when I was in prison to see what happened to Charlie. And but it's caused a revival, and it's like unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, that the harvest. And that's what I feel like with me, because of the persecution with me. And you see the young people coming forth in droves because of Charlie and his sacrifice and Erica's sacrifice. But I feel the same thing with me. When they sent me to prison, everything just exploded, and more people became aware of the injustices done to all the American people. When you have a toothbrush of this size and somebody's telling you you have to wake up at 5, you have to go to chow, you have 5 minutes to be there, all the restrictions and control that are put on you, and you realize it can happen to anybody. And so I would say to people out there, Steve, that are afraid of well, we don't want to be Tina Petered, or we don't want them coming after us. They're already coming after you. You just need to stand up, because if you don't, you will be one of the casualties of this war that we're in.
Thank you, Tina. Asking me how to get it and reach you, at least say hello. What do I do? Do you have an email or a text or someplace you want them to go to?
You bet. So they can go to tinapeters.us. We've my wonderful team. I mean, I can't even thank them enough that have stood with me through all this. have put everything on tinapeters.us. There's a way to contact me, write me, to donate if they feel led to do that, which I hope people will see the value in it. And that's the way they can get hold of me. I am making appearances. I will be in, and it's already out there in broadcast. I will be in Castle Rock coming up in a few days to speak with Lara Logan and some other people there. And then I am going on to be a voice. Let me just put it this way. I don't want to give any advance notice of what I'm doing, but I am looking to get in touch with or to speak with very important people about how we can affect change in our elections processes. So,
Well, I'm taking, and we will definitely have you back on. A little reverberation problems today. My tech guy is at jury duty, and Melissa, my assistant, doing a wonderful job in getting this done. We have people running back and forth because we're in 2 studios here, but it's a lot of fun. So Tina, every program we'll be on, we'll be asking people to go to tinapeters.us, tinapeters.us. I'll be saying this through the entire program. And, we have a lot of people listening, a lot of broadcasters, OBBM Network, hopefully everybody on OBBM Network, 38 different states. We have Q, we got the War Room. Stephen Bannon this morning promoted this, and he had you on the first, and he always gets your back. Lindell TV, Cloud Hub, Facebook, Rumble, it's on everywhere. We're lucky that we have a lot of friends doing this. So Tina, thank you for coming on. I will see you soon. I'm taking a vacation July. We'll see you in August. Love and kisses.
Steve, let me just tell you this. When they go on tinapeters.us, they can also access any of my social media. We're pretty active on there. So, on X at Real Tina Peters and all of that. But the main hub is tinapeters.us, and they can, there's so many ways to hear what's going on and to get in touch with me. Thank you.
So I got hundreds of, and a lot of people, thank you for coming on. You got it. Okay, well, thank you so much, Tina. And our next guest, we're running a little late because Tina came on today, Peter Berniger. Come on down. Sorry, we had to let you down a little bit, but you certainly, for Tina, will always give us a little time.
Yes. Hello, Steve. Thanks for having me on. I wanted to give some updates of what's happening in mid-2023. Election Watch and other people I work with, such as Chris Gleason, we pivoted towards finding solutions to take real action to achieve honest elections, but also stop smurfing the criminal money laundering into political campaigns. And since 2023, I can say now, people know already, though, that Act Blue in particular was raided by the FBI back in February of 2025. Indictments are coming. I have said this before, but I can tell you that the FBI, at least the good ones, are bringing forth prosecution. These people at the Act Blue are going to be indicted. It's taking longer because it's such a massive operation, and there's tentacles that go into other organizations. And also, speaking with the FBI, we got the FBI out of the Milwaukee office to launch a major criminal investigation into the 2020 election of how they stole it in 2020, primarily in the city and county of Milwaukee. The agents have been investigating, interviewing the correct people. It's up to over 30 interviews they've conducted already. They have well over 2,000 hard copy documents plus electronic data. They're right in the midst of it. And I'll say happily, the city of Milwaukee and the county of Milwaukee, both are government bodies, very recently, like 2 weeks ago, sat down and came to a public meeting and approved financial resources to hire outside counsel, both the city and the county, to defend themselves of what's coming from the FBI. So that investigation is ongoing. And related to that is back in 2022, Yehuda Miller, great guy out of New Jersey, preserved the records
for all of Milwaukee County for November 3rd, 2020 election. Then I came along, we met up, and I filed a lawsuit that's still open and pending today. And I can state publicly now, I have every single piece of evidence preserved from the November 3rd, 2020 election for all of Milwaukee County. And that means all the paper artifacts, including paper ballots, absentee envelopes, the chain of custody documents, the Dropbox record logs, pickup of the ballots, and also the ES&S election management server. The computer server was taken out in 2023 because the county purchased a brand new system. At the time, I had my lawsuit filed like a month or two earlier than that, and the corporation attorneys told them, the county election officials, to hold on to all that information, and they did. So the entire ES&S, EMS computer server with all the data on it from 2018, 2020, 2022, and spring election of 2023 is all sitting on that server. It's in the lock room of 104 and 105 at the county clerk's office in the courthouse of Milwaukee County. Now, I took the sworn deposition of the county clerk and George Christensen, and also the city clerk at the time, Claire Woodall-Vaughn. Those transcripts under sworn oath are in the hands of the FBI. George Christensen, when I took his sworn deposition, I got a call 40 minutes beforehand, and I was told he was doing heavy cocaine. When I took his deposition of George Christensen, the clerk of Milwaukee County, who's still there today, he was high as a kite on cocaine. We took a break. He went into the bathroom. Without a shred of doubt, he did more cocaine and came back, and when we finished up the deposition. Now, that deposition is in the hands, the beauty of this thing with his personal problem with cocaine is he kept talking, and he talked, and he talked, and he talked. So all that of the transcript is sitting in the hands of the FBI. Now, what I also wanted to mention is we have a state lawsuit, I do, against the Wisconsin Election Commission, but involved with it is Eric. And Eric was sent a subpoena by the attorneys a month and a half ago, and they answered some, but not all the questions. And of course, the questions they didn't want to answer would be the ones that would hang them, basically. But what we did find out, so people know, and I'm going to post this later on my Twitter, I don't know if it'd be today or not, is that Eric is using Sensing, SENZING software, which is offshoot of IBM back in like 2014 or something. And Sensing software is also used in law enforcement for matching up fuzzy logic and matching up names and addresses, trying to find people. So there's no real secret sauce that Eric has. They're using the Sensing software, the inputs from the state members, which now is 25, because the state of Virginia just rejoined them, unfortunately. So they're using the inputs from the state voter registration lists that the member states give them, the state DMV driver's license information, and then they have a license or approval, they're certified for approval of the US government's federal Social Security Death Index, and then they are a licensee of the US Postal Service NCOA data. So I've had many clerks tell me, municipal and county, that NCO data is not any good. And I'm talking real NCOA, not some of the cheaper versions you can buy for a lower cost. So Eric themselves is using NCO data to help maintain or clean the lists. But of course, we also know they're using them to develop these lists of eligible but unregistered voters, who then they send to these 25 member states, which forces the states to spend taxpayer money to send out postcards to adults who are not registered, but yet they're supposedly eligible, to try to get them to register. And right now, it's based on our theory, is that what they're doing is they're leaving off conservatives off that list that they send to the member states, and they're only putting on the liberals. So we're basically funding as taxpayers a state-sponsored entity, the state government, Secretary of State, in our case, is the Wisconsin Election Commission, to send out postcards at taxpayers' expense to try to get these liberals to register to vote. And that's exactly why when you see a member state of Eric, their voter rolls are dramatically being inflated. That's where it's coming from. But there's a problem with that, was where Colorado testified that Eric supplied 51,000 eligible but unregistered names, and it was later learned that 30,000 of those postcards went to non-residents. Then we have another quick comparison in Michigan. Michigan testified it sent out 700,000 Eric-based registration mailers 2 months before their election. And that's under a sworn oath from Jonathan Brader. I think he's the director of their Bureau of Elections. So this is having a real impact on our elections, where Eric is scheming with these liberal, and of course there are 25 liberal states, basically. A lot of states wised up to get rid of them, Florida, Texas, and a host of others to kick them out. But unfortunately, they're still in 25 right now. The other thing I wanted to mention is that HAVA, we've got HAVA lawsuits filed right now in Texas. And of course, Jane Nelson announced her retirement about 4 days after my lawsuit was process served on her. Now, I don't want to take credit, but I'm gleeful that a worthless Secretary of State like that, Jane Nelson, is leaving the game and retiring, hopefully for good. I have a lawsuit in Wisconsin pending. I have one in Colorado, tied in with Unite for Freedom with Michael Calhoun, a great data guy out of Colorado. And then we also have one in Michigan. The HAVA hearing is scheduled now in Michigan with the two ladies, Stephanie Beltnick and Shelley Lake, for July 1st at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And I'll be providing a link online on my Twitter at Peter Berniger, so people can watch the HAVA hearing online. The last thing is that we now have 12 federal lawsuits in Washington, D.C. against the FEC, where we have a couple now we're in default judgment, including the one I filed against John Thune, his treasurer, and his campaign, whereby we're going to be able to file a direct lawsuit against him personally, against his campaign committee, and against his treasurer. They're personally going to be liable for the money that he smurfed into his political campaign. We also have several others, such as U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin, U.S. Senator Lisa Slotkin, U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, against Act Blue directly. So these are in process right now, and they're going very well. So that's the quick update.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. We appreciate you coming on and waiting a little bit out of time. Our next guest, Patrick Kolbeck, Election Crime Bureau. Come on down.
It's great to be with you, Steve, and it's actually really good to see Tina Peters back online and sharing what she went through. I really do encourage everybody to go out to tinapeters.us. Don't forget why she was put in prison in the first place. She uncovered a lot of evidence that they didn't want her to be talking about. Well, we're going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about it up at the Election Crime Bureau. So a lot of information is there as well. And it's also great to hear from Peter Berniger as well. Peter's been doing some great work, and I've been working with some friends of mine over in Michigan, and it's great to hear the progress that he's making. So what I wanted to talk about today was many of you guys that are watching this broadcast may have watched President Trump walk off the set out at Meet the Press during the interview with Kristen Welker when he was out in Wisconsin at an event. And the reason he walked off the set is because she kept saying that there is no evidence of election fraud around the 2020 election. President Trump kept saying there is evidence, and it kept going back and forth. And finally, the president got frustrated, walked off the set. Well, I'll tell you, I'm as frustrated with as the president was with that narrative that they say that there is no evidence of election fraud. And so what I've done out at the Election Crime Bureau, and Steve, if you don't mind, I want to try to share my screen so we can kind of walk people through some of the information that's out there. Let's see. Yep, it's there. So hopefully you guys can see the electioncrimebureau.com website. In particular, there is one page in particular I want you to investigate, and that is the evidence tab. So I have put together a report that features over 824 unique findings, of which 553 of them are established fact. They're supported by 2,517 citations. And this is a collection, if you will, of the evidence that's been gathered by what I like to refer to as meddling kids from all over the country into one spot here that I'm sharing with the world. And if anybody who's following me on social media realizes I'm posting out a unique finding from these posts that are up at the Election Crime Bureau every single hour. And that will be going on until July 10th. I think it's scheduled to go off and do all unique findings. The information that's out there has all the citations associated with it. So the bottom line is nobody can honestly say that there is no evidence of election fraud. Here it is. And by the way, this is all open source intelligence. This is all stuff that I've been able to get access to as an everyday citizen, which means the 824 findings is the floor, not the ceiling. I know for a fact, due to my discussion with folks out in the federal government, that there are indeed a significant number of individuals with access to the same information. They've been provided with a full-up report associated with this data. And the bottom line is, guys, 2020 is a big deal. It's important, not because we're looking to go off and change the results of the 2020 election. I think that ship, unfortunately, has sailed. But we want to understand that the same theft mechanisms that were in place in 2020 are still in place in many places for the 2026 election. And if we don't recognize what was done in 2020, if we don't start holding people accountable for what was done in 2020, we're never going to have our secure elections. And so this is extremely important. When they attack the integrity of our election system, it's an attack on the United States itself. Our election systems have been designated as critical infrastructure. And so when they go after the election systems, it's the same thing as a tank rolling across the border. They are attacking the United States, and they need to be held accountable, and it needs to be treated as a national emergency. So with that, there's a variety of attack vectors. Steve, my background, and for the rest of you, my background is I'm a former Michigan State Senator. I also ran for governor in the state of Michigan. I'm an aerospace engineer, helped design critical infrastructure components on the International Space Station. So I'm familiar with the rigor that goes into that. I also work with the Department of Defense, working on wargaming simulations. So very technical background. So I typically like to focus in on the machines and the election record mismatches. But there are so many other facets to the theft of the 2020 election, most notably information control and the role that this organization called the Election Integrity Partnership plays, which was revealed in a report by the Weaponization of Government Committee and out in Congress. So it's not conjecture. So we take that and a total of 10 different attack vectors, look at them, provide the evidence for everybody. And this is intended to serve as a predicate for criminal investigations with these federal investigators. It's also a mechanism to get these new investigators spun up quickly on all the different facets of election fraud, because when these federal investigators come on board, they're not necessarily up to speed on our elections and how they've been manipulated. This is intended to be a nice little primer for them in that as well. And that's why I broke all these findings into, over 800 plus bite-sized chunks. The full up report on this is 799 pages, and not one of these guys is going to read something that big out of the gate. So this is set up so you can break it down into whatever your topic of interest is, including you can look at a very robust search capability on it. So if you want to dig into what's going on in Act Blue, I've posted all the stories that I've been able to find regarding Act Blue in here, for example, and you can go off and dig into it on your own. So with that being said, just wondering if you had any questions, Steve.
No, that's it. Thank you very much. We're running a little bit late. We're going to get on Nicole Ambrosi from Maryland, and then we'll have Peter Tickton on. I see Peter in the background there. Nicole is the chair of Maryland. Am I correct?
I'm National Committee Woman for the Maryland GOP.
All right, National Committee Women. Come on down.
There we
Thanks.
go.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, we have our Maryland primary tomorrow, and it's perhaps the worst election integrity fiasco in advance of an election that we all know about. Essentially, back in May 15th, the State Board of Elections said, we accidentally sent out 500,000 ballots. We're not really sure who got the wrong ballot. So on that very same day, the staff election director, without consulting the state board members, said, I've decided we're going to send out another 500,000 ballots to fix the problem to the same people. And we found out that wasn't exactly accurate. They did not send those ballots out until May 27th. Then on May 28th, they told the public this. Problem with that is we probably should have stopped it, right? There probably weren't that many ballot errors, but now we have 1 million extra ballots floating. And realize we're in a state where we already have, I believe, 1 million extra names on our voter rolls because we don't clean our voter rolls. We have dead voters. We have voters who have moved. We have illegal aliens. We have everything in the kitchen sink on our voter rolls. And Maryland's a small state. Marylanders say only 75% of us are registered to vote. And yet we have 4.3 million people on our rolls. It should be closer to 3 million, according to how Marylanders identify ourselves as voters on our voter rolls. So we kind of have a double whammy in this primary that we're going into, where we have these dirty voter rolls and anyone can order a ballot. All you need is name, address, date of birth, and you can order a ballot in this state. There's no signature verification. There's no voter ID. And then we have these extra 1 million ballots on top of that floating around. And the problem with it is normally they should just take a replacement ballot, but they said, oh no, we'll count first round ballots and replacement ballots. So these are problems. So happy to take any questions, any thoughts, anything at all. Or I can tell you more about Maryland and my dog.
We're good. Anything? How can people get in touch with you?
Come again?
How can people get in touch with you?
All right. So I am on Twitter at Nicole Ambrose. So it's Nicolee Ambrose, AMBROSC. I'm on Facebook at Nicole USA. If you know a Marylander, if you are a Marylander, if you are having a problem, we have an election hotline where we want people to tell us what their problem is. We have all these voters that are disenfranchised, right? They said they never got a ballot at all, even though they ordered one. They only have the wrong ballot, or they've gotten 3 to 8 ballots for one person. We have every problem imaginable. So we can't help someone if we don't know what the problem is. So we have, if you go to our Maryland GOP website, www.mdgop.org/election hotline, we have a little form, fill it out, tell us what's going on so we can help you. We're staffing it. We have lawyers staffing it. We have a whole team of folks. And our big goal is just to do whatever we can to help voters, because this is no Marylander's fault, right? This is a state board of elections who's supposed to administer free, fair, and transparent elections that keeps making really grievous errors. And the only people who are at a loss here are Marylanders, because we just, if we were just confident in the outcome of our elections, people wouldn't be complaining, right? We'd be happy, we'd be fine. But when you have all these extra ballots floating around, and then you add on top of it that anyone can order a ballot, it's a bit of a problem.
For sure. Well, I love Maryland. My 2 daughters played tennis for Maryland way back, and my granddaughter's going to Maryland now. So thank you very much for coming on. Keep Maryland a little bit to the red. I know it's all the way to the blue, to the green, whatever. So we appreciate you coming on. And thank you very much.
Thanks.
You got it. Our next guest, my good friend, Peter Tickton. But before he comes on, I'd just like to say, as you know, I was on Steve Bannon this morning and we promoted his shirt, the War Room shirt. Take a look at this. It's a great T-shirt. My son designed it with his designers. 250th anniversary. Go to standwithbannon.com to get your shirt, or go to the flagshirt.com for your 250th goods. Thank God we're doing good. As you know, I spend most of my time on politics, gave most of the business to my son so that the family can do good. We ask everybody to get us a shirt for the 4th of July. It's coming up real quick. A lot of people wait and they can't get it. So without further ado, one of the most famous guys in this country who helped Tina Peters get out of jail. He spent a lot of time, and we're asking everybody to donate because I know Peter hasn't got a penny yet. So go to tinapeters.us. We love her. Everybody heard her. If you didn't hear her, you can go to Stern American Rumble later. So Peter, come on down. You got the floor. I think you got to unmute.
Thank you so much, Steve. Yeah, that's true. So I put the other lawyers ahead of me, and I'm fine with that. But by all means, please go to tinapeters.us. Not just because the lawyers need to be paid, but also it helps support Tina Peters as well. There's different things you can donate to. I don't know who your guest was. I caught the tail end of what he was saying two speakers ago. And what I really appreciated of what he said was that getting into our election system surreptitiously is the same thing as coming into our country with a tank and trying to take us over militarily. Only it's so clever. It's what they could do. They want to defeat us. The world is envious, not only envious of us, but for some reason they just want to bring us down. We're 4% of the population of the earth. That's all we are, but we consume 25% of the amount of, let's say, oil. We do 20 million barrels of oil a day. We consume. The earth in total consumes 80 million barrels of oil a day. We're about 25% of the economy, in other words. So these people who have their own armed forces, they know they cannot be near a match for us. And I'm talking about China. And that's what really is going on here is China has done what they did in 2020. And I really like what that fellow had to say because because he was saying, yes, it's too late for 2020, but it's the same people that are trying to take us over in 2026. He's right. Just because Donald Trump was able to win because we were able to compromise the data center in Belarus, that's the only reason that he was able to get elected. Otherwise, the machines would have ruled the day. But the fact that he won doesn't mean that anybody left the planet. Those people are still here. And they're still doing what they did before and what they're going to want to do again. Only now there's a nightmare scenario that's out there. You know, first of all, they're participating, they're active, I should say, in the primaries. And they are putting left-wingers in as Republican candidates for the House. They don't have that much of a problem in terms of the primaries for the Senate because there's 22 Republican senators that are up for re-election, which is an amount much larger than normal. So of those 22, what do they need to flip? 15 of them, 16 of them in order to be able to cause removal wherever the Congress on a majority basis decides to impeach. So that leads to a real nightmare scenario because if they do what they're capable of doing, believe me, I know from the lawsuits that I'm involved in that deal with these machines. You know, Eric Murr was the head of security and product strategy, whatever that means, for the. He's bringing on lawsuits, suing people. Well, this is part of what the program is. In other words, it's not enough to steal the election. After you don't even like to say the election was stolen. The election was rigged. The country was what was stolen. after they rig the election, they have to be able to control the population. They don't want to be, all of a sudden reversed by massive numbers of people and so on. So they did psyops. That's what the whole January 6th operation was all about. And this is what we're working on now in terms of January 6th. But the nightmare scenario is where they flip a sufficient number of senators. And then, of course, what's the next order of business? We're talking about 62 days later, not a long time, any 2 months later, we have these people swearing their oaths and sitting in their seats in the House and the Senate. So what would be the first order of business for them? By the way, that's 62 days. It really goes fast, because don't forget, there's Thanksgiving in it, there's Christmas in it, there's New Year's Eve in it, and it's only 62 days. So whatever action would be done, we need to prepare for that in advance. And if that scenario were to come true, then there would be no choice. I believe, it's nothing I know from the president, but it's something that I believe the president would have to deal with in a way that would protect the country, because, and I mean martial law, because once they take over again, like they did for 4 years, we will never get the country back. And you, Steve, and I are going to be on the first trucks that they send out to round us up. Anybody MAGA. So we got to make sure it doesn't happen. And the scenario is, and what they're planning on, if you watch Hakeem Jeffries and his confidence level and his arrogance, where he now talks about the Supreme Court of the United States being an illegitimate organization, he's just going to be in a position. Well, let me tell you what the nightmare scenario is first. The nightmare scenario is that they then, on the first day, of course, they're going to elect Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House. Know that if they have a majority, or even if they don't have a majority, but they've got the lefties that are now pretending to be Republicans that are in place, they will elect Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House. And then the next order of business is going to be impeach. And they're not just impeach Donald Trump. They want to impeach both Donald Trump and J.D. Vance at the same time. Then it goes over to the Senate. If they remove Donald Trump and Vance, then who's our president? Hakeem Jeffries. If they do this, if this happens, and they're desperate to take over again, they've got deadlines. They've built their whole world around 2030 agenda, and here we are, halfway through 2026. So they got 3.5 years to get to where they are before they do the mischief that they do. And maybe you have pretty good ideas about what that is. But in very dangerous times. There's a reason to be hopeful about this, though, because we do have Maduro. And, we didn't go to Venezuela just to stop the cocaine and the fentanyl. Venezuela is a major exporter of other things, such as election results. They provide the machinery to control the results of elections in 72 different countries. So looking at it, from that point of view, again, are hand counting the votes, other methods that we're completely safe in terms of the counting. But the machines are still here. They're still running, and we have proof positive that they've been active in terms of the results of the primaries. The one thing I would say is, please, for God's sakes, if you know anybody that was running for a primary where this kind of thing happened, especially if you see that a lefty or somebody who's woke or love DEI, you find that they got to win the primaries in a Republican race. These people that lost, need to make sure that they challenge that result. If they don't, and there's limited time to do that, It depends on where you are, what state you're in, and what they say in terms of that. But it's usually within 30 days of certification, and it could be less. So you need to make sure you challenge it, for God's sakes, please. But this is where we are. This is what's coming. But with Maduro there, and he's like a canary. He's letting people know what he's doing. I don't even think about it. He'd be serving life imprisonment in solitary confinement in a supermax. I'm sure he's working on some kind of a for his cooperation that's going to give him a much better rest of his life. But that's the cooperation that we need to be able to inform the public and the world as to what's going on and how the United States has literally been attacked through serendipity. Now, I think you also wanted me to mention about Tina Peter. She is doing better.
Yeah. Also, you were in
She
Vegas
is
last.
in a period where she needs to heal a little bit more.
Peter, you were in Vegas last week.
What's that?
Talked about national emergency. Can you talk about what you talked about in Vegas?
Okay, yeah, you came in a bit broken up, Steve, but in terms of what we're going to need, yes, we do need that. But at this point, it's getting to be too late in terms of the fact that in the primaries, there are a lot of people in the primaries that are coming into play pretending to be Republicans when in fact they're complete lefties. And even if we fix the whole system and had hand counting going forward, there's still a problem that somehow we have to go back and fix. And that the way to make sure we do that is, that's why I say they have to challenge it. But you're right, we need it. We need that order. And I think with Maduro coming out with what he's going to be coming out with, because if he's telling the truth, we know that he's the one that was at the head, basically selling these elections. Cuba, these are all parties, and the Ukraine, these are all parties that were involved one way or the other in all of this. So, but we do need hand counting, and we're not going to get that unless an emergency is declared. And there is
All right.
emergency.
I want to thank you, Peter. I'm sure that Jerome Corsi, who's coming up next, will talk more
Does that
about
help?
this. Yeah, it was very helpful. Thank you very much. I know you got to catch a plane somewhere, so thank you for coming on. We try to get you on before some of the other people. So thanks again, Peter. You always are such a great speaker, and we certainly appreciate it. You have a good week, and we'll have you back
Today,
again soon. Any last minute thoughts?
Okay, it's my pleasure. No, just that Jerome Corsi is, he's a good man to speak on these. He's very, I really appreciate him.
Very good. Well, thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. Our next guest, that famous Jerome Corsi, who backs up Peter Tickton. Peter and him are a great team.
Well, I've been working with Peter for almost 2 years, and I think we've made a major impact in communicating to President Trump the fact the 2020 election was stolen. And these algorithms remain in the state databases that can produce hundreds of thousands, millions across the country of workers that don't exist, people that don't exist, modified duplicate votes that yet get legitimate state IDs and can be used in mail-in ballot schemes. Now, I think what Peter is saying, what we've been arguing, is that it's going to come down to a emergency executive order for the president, which probably will come sometime reasonably soon, to enforce the voter legitimacy and voter integrity. I think President Trump is well aware that if we vote with where the voter rolls are today, we'll have millions of illegal immigrants voting. We're going to have foreign influence through the computers, as we've had before with Venezuela. Peter Tickton has documented that very thoroughly. And I think President Trump is aiming to move in this direction. There's a lot of signs that President Trump is not going to remain idle during, allow the election to go forward, knowing it's going to be rigged. The Democrats, if we eliminate the illegals voting, we go to proof of citizenship to vote, voter ID, paper ballots, reduce the mail-in ballots back to the traditional absentee ballot system, and get rid of the machines, we'll have a legitimate election. We do that, the Democrats will probably lose half the seats they currently hold. The Democrats' agenda is completely bankrupt. They are running now openly Marxist, socialist, hating America. So Democrats have decided with the Democrat Socialists of America, it's just time to take over the country. And this is essentially a coup d'etat by election theft. And the left has no hesitation to do it. Again, 2024, for a variety of reasons, we were able to block the election steal. But the Democrats, as you can see, are back in California counting extra days until they get the results they want. And if a candidate gets through their primary process, they'll lose in the general because they'll pick him off then. So I think Donald Trump is in a position, I saw it today, it was just announced, Department of Homeland Security is saying that they're going to withhold funds from states that refuse to submit their voter election files to scrutiny to see how many illegal aliens and other non-existent people are on the rolls. I also want to emphasize that Donald Trump has realized the importance of National Guard action if he has to take it. In other words, if the states refuse to cooperate and are going to let illegal immigrants vote and have all these extra days for counting votes, President Trump knows that's a formula for disaster. And so President Trump is even talking over the weekend of saying that, if District of Columbia elects a socialist or a communist or an insurrectionist, wanting to disband the police and open the jails to criminals and flood the country with illegal immigrants, he's going to have the National Guard take over the District of Columbia, and that could be done. Donald Trump's already demonstrated cleaning up Memphis, Tennessee, and Washington, D.C. with the National Guard. Well, if we need the National Guard to protect our elections, I think Donald Trump won't hesitate to do it. And that's the national security emergency that Peter and I have been urging for 2 years. It's been in the works. White House has been working on it. White House has been, there's 130 actions in the states right now by the Department of Justice challenging voter rolls and challenging voter procedures. We have the BOST decision, B-O-S-T, versus Illinois State Board of Elections, in which it was the Supreme Court and Chief Justice Roberts issued standing, and BOST, who is a candidate for Congress in Illinois for re-election, challenged that these extra days of counting were inherently unfair, and the Supreme Court agreed. So we've already got a basis for saying that the court, from the Supreme Court decision, that the states, two things. One is candidates should challenge now under BOST rules that the states have that are unfair, including mail-in ballot rules. And the Supreme Court said that that's legitimate. That's a legitimate challenge. Number two, we should have challenges across on all the states, because the Supreme Court decision was it doesn't have to be proven that provision of the voting is going to cause a Republican to lose. All you have to prove is that it's unfair. And the court, Roberts said it's like judging the winner of a 100-meter race by allowing the race to go to 103 meters until the person you want is won, and then you call the 100-meter race over. Well, it's not fair, and it's inherently wrong. It's designed for cheating. I don't think the American people are with the Democrats. Kamala Harris is still doing word salads, and you've got all the Democrats out there with policies mutilating children that I don't think the American people, this is not a hard left Marxist country. We may be a center left country, but we're not a hard left Marxist. And now that Trump has gotten, I think, the situation in Iran at least stabilized, enough that we can reduce oil prices by opening the Straits of Hormuz. I'm completely confident Trump knows what he's dealing with in Iran. And if it takes a third round of warfare, that can occur against Iran after the election. But right now, I think Donald Trump wisely is getting the economy on even terms. We'll get gasoline under $2 a gallon by the time we vote. It will make a big difference. Donald Trump is a brilliant politician. He understands what the risks are here. And I don't think Donald Trump intends to be the last president of the United States. I think Donald Trump intends to do what he set out to do, which is to make sure that the elections system is fair. And if that takes an executive order, so be it. And if it's a national security executive order, the courts can't intervene. It's going to take too much action from Congress and 2/3 votes in the House and Senate to overturn a national security executive order declaration by the president. And Donald Trump comes on and says, we've got that, and states that don't cooperate are going to be supervised by the National Guard. I think even California would have to pay attention. But clearly, the Democrats intend to steal. They intend to win the midterm elections. They intend to depose Donald Trump. They don't care what the American people think or want. It's a raw, basic power move by a Marxist radical group that does not reflect the traditional Democratic base. Democratic Party has lost its franchise. It's in the wilderness. It's going to get more and more insane before Election Day. President Trump is going to be holding a big national convention type event. It's usually reserved for the presidential elections. He's going to be out campaigning. I think we've already seen the influence of Donald Trump in elections in the primaries. But I do not believe Donald Trump is going to allow the country to be stolen from within by a group of radical, I think, essentially revolutionaries who intend to destroy the United States, destroy belief in God, break up fundamental families, and have the United States be reduced to a second or third class nation. So I remain confident in Donald Trump, and all the evidence I have and can see is that Donald Trump is setting the stage for an election emergency declaration, maybe closer to the election. We still have months to go, but one in which he will be able to use the National Guard if that's required. And that's my analysis of it. I think Peter and I work very closely together. We continue to do so. And I encourage Donald Trump and to, I'm sure, guide the country through an election in which these radical Democrats get the loss that they deserve. Thank you, Steve.
Yep, thank you very much, Rum. You're a great speaker and you gave us a lot of good information. Melissa, you want to put your face on here? I want to introduce Melissa, my assistant. She is working all by herself today because Anthony, our tech guy, had a jury duty. She's done a wonderful job. Say hello to everybody. Put yourself on full time. She's on the phone calling everybody, making sure everybody gets on time. Hello, Melissa. Without her, we couldn't have done this today. We've had a lot of technical problems. When you have this many people on, it's like with Bannon, you for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, it takes a lot to get people on, off, around, make sure they're on. You saw there were technical problems with their voice and everything. So we do the best we can. And we've had a lot of great speakers today. We're going to cut Tina Peters' clip out and we'll have it on tomorrow, the next day, so everybody could see it. Again, please go to tinapeters.us for donations. It's very important. We're watching how many people are listening. We got a lot of people. There's good news and there's bad news. People are putting some bad stuff on and people are putting some great stuff on. But we take the positive, the minus, everything. We look at it and we report it to you. We want everybody to buy one of Steve Bannon's shirts right here because he supports us 1,000%. It takes a lot for me to get on his program. He gives me 3-4 minutes, but we take whatever we can get. Millions of people watch. Go to standwithbannon.com to get your t-shirt, the War Room shirt. We'll have more on later in the year for different reasons. We're working closely with him. So our next guest is Nancy Ford from Maine. It was tough getting her on, but we're happy that we got her. We try to bring people on from many different states so you get an idea of what's going on. So Nancy, come on down. We'll try to do the best we can to check with all your stuff that you want to put on.
Okay, can you hear me fine, I hope?
We can hear you terrific and you look great.
Thank you. I did
Yep.
my best. Okay, yes, I'm Nancy Ford. I'm Communications Director for the Maine Election Integrity Network, shorthanded as Maine EIN. For anybody who doesn't know the Election Integrity Network nationwide, although you've had Cleta Mitchell on as your guest often, I believe, Steve. It was founded in 2021 by Cleta Mitchell, and it is become the America's home for election integrity volunteers, which we all are. Nobody in our organization has paid a penny. And Maine Election Integrity Network is proud to be part of this network as the Maine Coalition for Election Integrity. We are also part of a member of the New England Coalition, which is a group of state coalitions and partners leading the charge on election integrity in New England under the auspices of the National Election Integrity Network. That said, it seems like Maine is in the news these days for two things. Having a person running for the Senate seat against Susan Collins, who has a Nazi tattoo, that seems to be getting a lot of publicity. And the other thing is that we're using ranked choice voting for such a thing as our primary elections here, which took place on June 9th. And if I can get this slide presentation up, we'll all be happy. And I guess I have to say share. I'm not too savvy in doing this, so give me a minute here. It says it's loading, share link. And I guess I just send this. Oh, I have to enter a name or an email address. Can somebody help me here what I'm supposed to do to get this shared?
Yes, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay,
I made a shareable link. So now.
Can you see the screen with the plus inside?
With the what?
The screen with the plus inside.
Hold on, let me get this. Okay, let me close this, pull this down for a minute. What am I supposed to see? I'm sorry.
Oh, can you see the screen? Is that like
the plus, with the plus sign.
With the plus inside.
Okay, slides and PDF. Okay, what do I do there?
Click there and it's gonna ask you to share the screen.
I have a PowerPoint.
Okay, it's going to ask you what window you wanna share.
Slides. Okay. But it says I have no slides from my computer. Okay, upload from my computer. Upload file. Okay, we're getting there. Sorry, folks. Hold on. I will get this in 1 second now that I got where I need to be, I think. Hold on. Desktop. Hold on. I knew this was going to be a bit of a problem for me here, but we'll get there. And I'll put up the PowerPoint, okay? And open. It says this file is in use. So let me close that down. And then I should be able to okay this and open. It's uploading.
Can you report on it without having to slide?
Yes, I can. I can start the report without it. Okay, while it's uploading. Anyway, yeah. So I first want to say that the report was basically the information that Patrick Davis, who actually camped out. This is on the documented failures in ranked choice voting during our primary election, January 9th, which took all of 11 days to. There we go. We're good. Thank you. So anyway. This is what my report's about. And Patrick Davis is the chair of Maine Election Integrity Network, and he's the one who provided most of the information. He was camped out in the building up in Augusta for most of the time of the 11 days until, 2 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, this is a cautionary tale. for everybody who's even considering using ranked choice voting, okay? I also want to mention Joseph Grant, our vice chair, who was able to provide additional information and prepared this slide presentation. Okay, let me just get my papers in order here now since I just messed them up. Okay, so let's start with the bottom line. Final results were certified June 20th. The national and state offices were all primaries were all conducted by ranked choice voting. Several major races triggered the full ranked choice voting tabulation, and final results for CD2, which is an important one this year that the House is making every effort to have taken. In CD2, the Democrat candidacy primary went to ranked choice, and the Republican and Democrat gubernatorial primaries were not certified until the early hours of June 20th, 11 days later. This was not caused by close margins or high volume alone. These were caused by repeated data integrity and process failures in moving certified results from the towns to central tabulation in Augusta. Anybody who knows Maine, it's not a small state. We have a very good highway system, but not extending into the hinterlands at all. So it's all along the coast here, gang. So you have to get to that first before you can get to Augusta. So that is where we stood when we began the tabulation. Okay. So slide 3. What should have happened in a perfect world? The municipal clerks would certify the results after the polls closed. They exploit clean data to memory sticks. Those sticks plus paper ballots when needed, and I'll get to that, moved under chain of custody to Augusta, and the SOS, Secretary of State staff, upload verified data and run the ranked choice voting rounds. Understand, Maine, we do not have county elections, districts, or certifications. It is all done at the precinct level, and we still use all paper ballots, except for handicap. And then they go through a tabulator, and we get our results. But we have the paper ballots, which is good. And we don't go to the county. It goes straight to Augusta. This process should take days, not nearly weeks or 2 weeks. But it did indeed in this case. Now, I just want to go back to the fact that all of this has to go up there. Understand that we have 487 locations, voting locations in Maine. We have 150 precincts that don't use tabulators, that only hand count because they're very small. They don't need tabulators. So those ballots had to be, the results of the election was sent to Augusta, and the ballots had to go to be scanned in a tabulator up there. If they were tabulated in the tabulator in Augusta, did not match what was sent by the town clerks, all of those ballots had to be hand counted up in Augusta. And ranked choice voting, that is not an easy matter. And that is why there were so many mistakes. There was a lot of hand counting from those towns that only have paper ballots. Because of the fact that those town clerks really just couldn't handle how ranked choice voting was even counted. We had 7 candidates for governor on our side, and I forget 5 or something on the Republican side, and 5 or 6 on the Democrat side. So we have town clerks in very small towns trying to handle ranked choice voting ballots and count them correctly. This sets it up for probably making mistakes. Okay, so we go to slide 4. Oops, sorry, slide 4. What happened really? Okay, memory stick failures, multiple towns send incorrect data or unusable data. These are some specifics. The city of Biddeford, which qualifies as a city, okay, we don't just have a few cities, we have a couple of extra. And I live in York County, which actually has 3 cities, Saco, Biddeford, and Sanford now. Which usually has centralized voting as well in the city hall. So these are not small amounts of ballots. They sent a flash drive with only local results on it instead of the state results, because we were having our town elections. Most cities were holding their local elections as well at the same time. So there were different sticks and tabulators and everything being run. Well, they sent the wrong one. Bath just failed to include one of the drives. Bowdenham drive was unreadable. So those ballots had to be retrieved, sent to Augusta, and rescanned in Augusta. So another town managed to send the test deck of sample ballots on a memory stick along with the certified results. And that caused some trouble reconciling the town count with what they were getting when they were up in Augusta, because they sent part of the test deck along with the sample ballots. So in multiple cases, the Maine State Police were running up and down 95 to retrieve ballots for central rescanning. So that was taking time as well.
Nancy, one
go
minute.
ahead.
1
Okay.
minute. You got it.
Okay, I thought I had 10 minutes to speak. No?
You did. You've already
Okay.
spoken.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, so very quickly, I'll go through the rest of the slides in 1 minute. That's fine. That's why I have slides. They occurred while processing data for races involving hundreds of thousands of ballots and multiple candidates, and every error triggered extra verification, test data mixed into certified output. It just went on and on and on, guys. Okay, throughout the process, the Secretary of State's office told nobody anything. But the towns were contacted and confirmed the facts of what was happening. The central office did nothing, no timely accounting of corrective measures taken before the final rounds. And so we have no idea how they got to the final rounds. So the process failures, test data, sending wrong or unreadable, when the same categories of errors recur that put the validity of the system in doubt, an explanation that they are routine is not an acceptable response. Maine voters deserve an election system that produces accurate results efficiently and transparently, and the problems documented in June 2026 are unacceptable. And this is what we get to look at. This is our tabulation, if anybody wants to try to figure that out. I've done some counting on it and so forth. The person who won the first round in the Republican one won the election by approximately the same margin, even after 9,000 ballots were thrown out, as they had won in the beginning, and we could have stopped at the first round. Unfortunately for the Democrats, at least for some Democrats' feelings, they indeed, the person who won the election, lost the election by quite a bit in the fourth round or fifth round of the thing, as you can see in their tabulation here. All of a sudden, it jumped tremendously in the last round. Okay? From 76,000 to 111,000. Why that happened? I don't know. And that's when Hannah Pingree won the election. So in CD1 down here, we're going to have two Pingrees running for election. Shelley Pingree for the House, re-election again, and Hannah Pingree for governor. And with that said, by the way, I don't know if you can see in the slide, this was from another organization I don't see, I can read it off of here somewhere. I'll get you that information. This is our contact information. We need help from everybody. And anything else you want to know, except for the fact, anybody who thinks they want to do this as a good alternative, you never get, in the Democrat case, they did get to 50% of the vote. In the Republican case, they never got to 50% of the vote, because in the Republican case, they wound up with 30,000 fewer votes at the end total as what was tabulated, where in the Democrat case, they only wound up with 3,000 less that were cut off in the counting. So effectively 30,000 Maine voters never got to the end of the counting. So their votes previous to that basically didn't count. So is that good enough, Steve?
Thank you very much. We appreciate it very much. In about a minute, let's bring on Velma to talk a little bit about precinctproject.com before we get our next guest on. Velma, you want?
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Go ahead, Velma.
So for Precinct Project USA, which is precinctprojectusa.org, a lot of folks who participate at the precinct level are also involved in election security and election integrity. So whether that's vote counting or participating with a county or state organization, it's all part of the community. Basically, the way that Precinct Project USA is structured is it's very kind of loosely affiliated. There's no membership requirements or anything. Just sign up and get on the mailing list, and everybody can communicate with each other. So you're looking at, so for the GOP, right, we have the national, state, county, and then local GOPs, plus, individuals at the precinct level. So it's basically open to everyone, including civic groups. There are some civic groups that focus on policy. There's other civic groups that focus on election integrity. And then there's the ones who we work with a little more, who are involved with civics in particular. So basically trying to structure with regards to the local policy issues and the local election issues, everything coming together in a bundle. So I think what we're trying to do with Precinct Project USA is provide an opportunity for folks to connect with each other and get involved and see all the different ways to get involved. So whether you're a precinct committee person or equivalent, because it has a different name at the lower neighborhood level, there's a lot of different activities that you can do. So whether it's get out the vote, or participate as a poll worker, or participate as a poll watcher, or engage with candidates and campaigns and do door knocking. All of the parts of the electoral process, they really fit together. So if you'd like to connect with us and get involved and find a way to connect locally, you can visit precinctprojectusa.org. Look for your state and look at your region. You can check out your state GOP, the county GOPs, any of the civic groups who we're already connected with. You can find your state point of contact, some of the county points of contact. And also, if you'd like to participate as a point of contact in your county or in your state, or even at your precinct level, feel free to use the registration form to sign up. Let us know your background, connect with Steve Stern directly, because the more opportunities that people have to develop those relationships locally, the better that we can do for our communities.
Thank you very much, Velma. Okay, our next guest, one of my good friends. She sends me maple syrup from Vermont all the time. She sends me pictures of this ice storms and snowstorms in the back of her house. I'm glad I'm in Florida, but we've been friends for a long time, worked trying to get her husband elected to office. So let's bring on Stacy Malloy from Vermont, involved in everything in Vermont. I think she is Miss Vermont or Mrs. Vermont. Go ahead, Stacy.
Hi, how is everybody? It's really good to see you. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for having me. I am making a note that you do need more maple syrup because it has been too long. But we are here in Vermont, and we are we're optimistic. We really are, because in Vermont you can vote, or you can register to vote literally up until the day of the election. So with that scenario and the scenario that they send a ballot to every single person in Vermont, I believe they're going out October 2nd this year. You don't even have to ask for it. So mail-in voting it's just what it is. You get a ballot if you are a Vermont resident, and that has been problematic for various reasons. We're super excited to hear about President Trump's emergency executive order, because we think that that will just make it a fair scenario here in Vermont. But what we really are excited about is taking the precinct strategy basically to the grassroots level here, by our Vermont Federation of Republican Women's Group. We have 17 ladies that are running for office, and we are doing what precinct strategy tells you to do to turn an election, to make the election happen. And that is basically grassroots. So for every single representative that we have, lady representative member, we are helping them get signs. We're helping them get business cards. We are helping them understand how going door to door is important, how networking with each other through the jurisdictions is important. And through that action, strategy action, we can turn this state by getting the people that we want on the ballot, because we will just overcome any type of anything that's hindering the fairness of the election, because people, the precinct strategy is a way to overcome it. So some exciting news is that Vermont is finally getting on the radar, and we had our national federation, Martha Jenkins. She came here to see what was happening in Vermont, because we are the state across the country that had the most gains in seats in the 2024 election. So no other state in the entire country gained more seats in their legislature, which is amazing, because Vermont is considered a blue state, but it is turning, and we are doing what we need to on the ground to have that happen. We also had the RNC co-chair, Casey Crosby, come, and that's a big deal for Vermont, that we are getting these national leaders to come here and see what's happening and how they can help and turn Vermont red. So can I answer any questions for you?
About your husband, isn't he running for office?
So Gerald is running for office. He is running for Congress. It's an exciting time. We really are grateful for the momentum. But what happens in Vermont, which is interesting, is we have a hard time filling a ballot. What we have to do is start at the grassroots level and have people actually start to fill these seats, because this might sound really crazy. There's no challenges there is a gentleman that puts his name on the ballot for every single race, but he's on there for Secretary of State, Attorney General, Auditor. It's very, very hard to turn a state red if you can't get people to run because they don't feel like it is fair. So we're working on that, our ladies group, and we are doing what we can, and we're doing really, really well, and really optimistic that a lot of our ladies can win their races.
How do they find your husband's website if they want to get interested in helping him?
So,
now, I've helped him for 6 years, and we're glad that he's running again. I thought he kind of retired, but I'm glad he's back.
Yeah, Gerald got a lot of requests to come to enter the race, and that's what he did. So Gerald is running for U.S. Congress, Gerald Malloy for U.S. Congress, and then our ladies group that has connections for all of the lady candidates is vfrw.org. So we're really busy here in Vermont, but I say possessed to turn the state red, and hopefully we do sooner than later, because it's.
What's Jerry's website?
So Gerald, so we did this marketing campaign that was called deploymalloy.com, and that will bring you to Gerald's website, and then also the I'm actually known as like probably the most Republican thing in Vermont. So anything that you want to know about really anything Republican is you can start with me, and it's gonna I'll get you the answer, but we are constantly just trying to do the best we can between Gerald's campaign and Gerald for U.S. Congress, and then the VFRW, and then of course we're in really good relations with the Vermont GOP. That's working really well.
How do they reach you, Stacy? What's your email?
Oh, so my email, McCain, you can reach the VFRW at admin@vfrw.org, or you can reach my personal political email is staceymalloy@deploymalloy.com.
Well, thank you very much, Stacy. It's been a pleasure seeing you, and I love that background. No snow. Terrific.
Yes. Can you guys hear the rain? Can you hear the rain? I hope
No.
not. Okay, good.
All right, thanks. We got to move on. So our next guests are going to be a twosome. We're going to have two people on at the same time. We're going to have Allison Nikolai and Sandy Zimmerman will both come on at the same time, but Allison will go first, and they are from Ohio.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm pleased to be here. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Absolutely fantastic. First of all, Steve, I want to thank you for allowing the election integrity community to have a place to learn and network. And for today, I plan to cover two issues that everyone might be curious about and can possibly learn from what occurred in Ohio and prevent it or encourage it from occurring in your state. Everybody remembers the non-governmental organization, the NGO, by the name of Acorn, right? Well, an Ohio County experienced fraudulent voter registrations under Acorn, including the names of Mary Poppins, Dick Tracy, and my personal favorite, Jive Turkey, before the organization was finally shut down in 2010. Since then, you've all noticed that NGOs have proliferated to almost out of control with webs of deliberate partisan federal funding and grants. You probably have heard that Ohio's been in the news recently with the FBI serving search warrants on sealed indictments for the NGO named Ohio Organizing Collaborative, or OOC, that was established in 2007, and its affiliated LLC, Black Fork Strategies Canvassers. And that was licensed in Ohio in 2018. Contrary to mainstream media and press releases and OOC statements, this FBI intervention has nothing to do with targeting democracy, but has everything to do with evidence of Black Fork Strategies voter registration fraud, including a Henry P. Kissinger, who now resides in Cincinnati area, and possibly petition signature fraud since 2022 that was referred by Ohio Secretary of State to county prosecutors back in 2024. The only confirmed actions taken in at least 5 of 20 counties was termination of the canvasser by the organization. There's been no statement issued by Black Fork Strategies owner affiliated with OOC. For comparison, in 2015, a canvasser with OOC was convicted of 34 counts of voter registration fraud and sentenced to 6 months in prison after pleading guilty to 14 of the 34 counts. In this instance, Ohio laws worked and justice was served. To date, there have been 0 consequences except for termination of the canvasser by the employer and 0 public statements of Black Fork Strategies voter registration activities that are directly tied to OOC, where the warrants were served. So now we all wait for the outcome of this now federal level investigation as of Friday, America Votes has been added to the FBI investigation. The second recent development to the Ohio self-proclaimed gold standard state is when the election integrity roller coaster began on May 18th with an op-ed piece issued by none other than our Republican candidate for governor, Vivek Ramaswamy. He stated that Ohio should amend our Constitution to add Ohio's voter ID laws. It was proposed as a way to prevent what happened to existing voter ID laws in Virginia that were essentially wiped out with new leadership in 2026. Basically, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. In record time, the Ohio Wheels of Ohio Legislative Services Commission churned out 2 joint resolutions and dropped the identical amendments in both the Ohio Senate and the Ohio House on May 20th to place voter ID on the November 2026 ballot for Ohio voters to approve. There's only one problem. Only in-person voting is covered by this constitutional amendment. 20% of Ohio voters vote absentee by mail, and we are a no excuse absentee state. Ohio has issued over 304,000 valid non-citizen IDs and driver's licenses statewide. Applicants to register to vote already pinky promise that they're qualified electors without any front-end validation, and invalid registrations exist on Ohio voter rolls in large quantity. Ohio's Secretary of State was approved for access to the SAVE database, which is the Systematic Alien Verification for Entitlements, in 2024. And in 2025, USCIS updated the ability for SAVE to run the last 4 of the Social Security numbers. County boards of elections do not have access to SAVE, only the SOS does. And just a fun fact, Ohio is failing the SOS 4 checks through HOV at a whopping 93% non-matches. Ohio has non-citizen designation on all IDs renewed or issued after April 2023, but only a photocopy is going to show this. The passed amendment does not require all methods of voting to provide state or government issued photo ID. Senate Joint Resolution 10 passed the House on 6/10 of just 2 weeks ago and will be on the ballot in November, flaws and all. This will be a tracking nightmare for election officials, as the absentee ballot process requires 2 interventions without clear direction on which interaction is going to require a photocopy of the photo ID. And they have no access to BMV or SAVE database to verify the alphanumeric descriptor, basically the driver's license number you write on your security envelope now, or the truncated descriptor, which is the last 4 of the Social Security number, that's still allowed as the option. Any questions before I turn my poop slinging over to Sandy Zimmerman? She's my silver lining, to tell you about the remedies and the Ohio advocate responses to the 2 issues I've highlighted today. Anybody?
Sandy, you have to unmute.
I'm sorry, Steve, I can't hear you.
There we go.
So I'm going to let Sandy answer and I'm going to come back in.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Okay. Sorry, I had it muted because Allison is invaluable to Ohio. Her understanding of election law, statistics, the process has just been great for all of us and has catapulted us into such better laws and proposed bills and everything. And I know she even helps out other states. So thank you, Allison. What we can do is, as citizens in Ohio, is to raise our voice. And one of the things that we can start with is the, let me get my notes up here, the Office of Management and Budget. They have a new resolution, or they want to amend a resolution. And in that, it has 3 paragraphs, I think, on election integrity. Basically, what they want to do is, for any of these NGOs that are getting federal funding and are doing partisan voter registrations or partisan petitioning, then they need to, they cannot get any more federal funds. And I think some of these have gotten up to 10 million or tens of millions federal funds. And it's from our, it's from what's been shown by Doge as all this taxpayer dollars going into it, and they're getting part of that. So what we have up on our website of the Ohio Election Integrity Network, it is ohioein.org. You will find on our homepage a call to action. And on that call to action, you can contact the Office of Management and Budget, and you can leave a proponent testimony. At this point, we're going to have some samples of it, and it's just, each of them are probably 3 or 4 sentences is all you have to write. But we're getting them approved from Election Integrity Network National. So we want to make sure we're all on the same page. And but up until that point, we won't have the samples, and it'll probably be within the next day or so. But on there, you'll have the link to the OMB and the way to put in proponent testimony. Make your voice heard all over the place. And if you live in another state, make your voice heard there too, because this is something that isn't just for Ohio, this is for all of us. And the NGOs, as we can well see, have been doing this for some time. You know, we have Black Force Strategies, Ohio Organizing Collaborative, not rated, but they had the subpoenas and they had the indictments and everything else. And they gathered all their information on an ongoing investigation on election fraud and election related fraud. So, and that has now gone national as well. There's other states involved. So this is something that affects every single state. And we need to get behind this. We need to show our support for it. We need to give them our opinions. And like I said, you'll have sample proponent testimony that you can put in and just copy and paste and send to that link. But if you go to ohioein.org now, you'll see it up on the homepage as a call to action, and you can even go to the link. So that's one of the things that we can do. The other thing is that get involved. Get involved in all your states. There is probably an election integrity network for each one of the states, at least most of them, and call up, see what you can do. Be a poll worker, be a poll observer, get involved in data, get involved in help with voter roll maintenance, and go to your board meetings and see what they're up to. There's so many things that each of us can do as a citizen. We can get involved a little, or we can get involved a lot. And it's just up to you and how much you want to push it. I know that those of us who are leaders in election integrity, we're a rare breed. It's not something we were growing up and say, oh, gee, I really want to be in a leader and election integrity someday. It's something that we saw was broken, and we got together and formed organizations, and we make a difference.
1 minute, Sandy, 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute. Okay. I do want to plug something for everybody, and that is the modellectionlaws.org. This is what election integrity has put together with hundreds of volunteers throughout the country. And what this does is it will give you everything you need to understand, advocate for, and help pass strong election integrity laws in your state. You can go there, you can download it, you can give it to your legislators, you can meet with your legislators, and it is amazing. This has been the process of this has been going on for at least a few years.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So we have about 1 minute before our next 3 guests. We're going to go, and we have 3 more guests left. We have Ali Triola from the RNC. Then we have Linda Sikowitz and John Goodman. But I want to thank many of our podcasters for streaming this live to us today. The main one is Steve Bannon, and I want to thank Grace Chung, who always works with me out in California, Maureen Bannon and his daughter. They have 30, 40,000 people on. Terry Kaiser, thank you. Dale Richardson from Canada. We're showing this up in Canada. Daniel Walker in Louisiana. Jonathan Alexander on Q. Pretty much last time got 100,000 people. Norm from totalnews.com. We have the Big Mig, George Ballantyne, Joe Altman from Untamed Nation. My good friend Dan Sriglio, who is the biggest podcaster we have, Voice of the People, gets millions on. Jim Tingley, Patriot Pulse, Todd Callender, Sam Anthony, YourNews.com, and many others. And if you want to just see, we have many, many pages of podcasters who are streaming this. So we want to thank you very much for doing this. That's the only way we get this out. And of course, Stern American Rumble, which is my channel. We get a lot of people on. Again, please get your flagshirt.com from theflagshirt.com, theflagshirt.com. They sponsor this program. So our next guest is going to be from the RNC, Ali Triola, who is the communications director. And we want to thank her for giving up her time because she's working very hard to get the elections done correctly. So come on down, Ali.
Hey, thank you so much for having me this afternoon.
Pleasure to have you. So give us a little background on what the RNC is doing. And we certainly appreciate everything you do. I know that when President Trump won the election, Susie Wiles texted me and said, thank you very much for getting everybody to understand what's happening, because we need to learn and understand what's happening. So give us a little background what the RNC is doing. A lot of people want to know and how they can get in contact you or contact the RNC to get involved.
Well, a major component of our work here at the RNC is, of course, securing America's ballot box. Right now, we have more than 150 active election integrity cases across more than 30 states in our country. We also have a landmark election integrity case before the Supreme Court. This is Watson versus RNC. And what it would be doing is restoring election day to election day. Right now, 14 states around the nation actually accept mail-in ballots after Election Day and count those. What we're seeing in California, for example, where still it has been weeks since the primary election and no result has been called. What we know at the RNC is protecting safeguards around mail-in ballots, making sure that we have common sense voter ID, proof of citizenship. All of these are ways in which we can make sure that our voters feel confidence in the election system.
So if people want to contact the RNC and get involved as a poll watcher or poll worker, how do they do that?
Absolutely. Our main website is Protect the Vote. Recently, we launched a multi-million-dollar campaign in 17 target states around the nation. We have election directors located there to recruit poll workers, poll observers, make sure that we have boots on the ground to really secure the vote. What we know is that President Trump is adamant that election integrity is the backbone of a strong nation. America is the very best country in the world, and there's no excuse that our elections also aren't the best in the world. So at the RNC, our job, of course, is to carry out that mission. We are fighting tooth and nail to do so, and of course are on track this year to wage the most election integrity litigation in RNC history.
So many people contact us just now asking how they're going to get the illegal aliens off the voter rolls. I mean, this seems to be one of the biggest problems that we have. California is the most ridiculous place we've ever seen. I have 100 people on here from California texting me, why is California still counting votes?
I don't blame them. And to be honest, I'm a fifth generation Californian myself. I now live in DC, but it is heartbreaking as a conservative growing up in the Golden State, which of course is no longer golden because of Democrat policies. If the Supreme Court rules in our favor in Watson versus RNC, that would fix the nightmare that we are seeing in California. I also want to point out there are so many other ways that we are working to expose non-citizens on voter rolls. Recently, we partnered with the New Jersey GOP, and through public records requests, we uncovered hundreds of non-citizens on New Jersey voter rolls, and they were getting on there through a loophole at the DMV. We also got proof that they were voting in multiple elections. So when Democrats want to gaslight us into saying voter fraud isn't real, non-citizens aren't voting in our elections. We know that isn't the case because we have proof time and time again. So the RNC, of course, has launched the largest ever public records request to see how states are maintaining their voter rolls. And then, of course, when we find issues, we'll act accordingly to make sure that those problems are stopped dead in their tracks.
So our next guest is going to be Linda Sinkowitz, fightvoterfraud.org. I see her smiling in the background below here. She has issued statements that there's double people voting in many states all over the country. She's brought it to the FBI, to the Justice Department, to many places, and nobody seems to get arrested. Don't you think if people would get arrested, that our voting system would be a lot better?
Well, I certainly think so. I absolutely do. And when we bring them forward, we're actually bringing them forward with the evidence. The evidence that we put together can be used in court to show it actually is that person. We have actually had some response. New Jersey reached out to us. Apparently, they are following up on one of the double voters from New Jersey that the DOJ passed along with our evidence to them like last summer. So there's one, out of what?
Maybe we can get you and Allie together and maybe you guys could figure it out. We have Allie, we've had over 400 different speakers. Many of them have a lot of information they want to give to you, and that may be able to help. I know a lot of people were at a conference and expounded information that the White House was unhappy about. But, they fight very hard on the ground and they don't get their voices heard. Is there a place that they could go to be able to get that done? And Linda may be able to come up with some answers there because she goes all over the country and she works the hardest that I've ever seen anybody that I know. I mean, I call her up and she's in Minnesota. I call her up, she's in Nevada. I call her up, she's in Connecticut. So she's one of the hardest working people that I know. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Allie, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we know that hard-working and invested patriots are the reason why election security is so important. We need boots on the ground. We need real people that if they see something, they say something. So, of course, on protectthevote.com, we are collecting information. We have hotline numbers. We want people to call in. We distribute those as well to state parties during various elections so that people have a way to report these issues. That's why it's so important that we have poll observers and poll watchers that are Republican. We need that representation there so that we can have eyes and ears on the ground. When it comes to empowering voters, the only way to do that is making sure that they know the ballot box is secure. So, of course, I want to plug protectthevote.com again as a way for us to stay connected to all of our wonderful patriots that care about this issue just as much as we do. And we're super appreciative of that partnership.
Do you know any areas that are needed where we need poll watchers and poll workers? Because I know when we ran the national presidential election, they asked me to help them get them in Detroit, Philadelphia, Wisconsin, certain areas. Is there any areas you'd like to tell the people that are listening where we need them?
Of course, battleground states like Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, we see New Jersey, we see a need for those people there. But honestly, we will take all of our poll watchers and observers in every single state we can get them because every single vote and election matters.
Oh, very good. Linda, do you have any questions for her? I know you are all over the United States here and had a lot of information and you've traveled every place.
I think most of my questions will be ones that her and I can do in a phone call. I mean, you should know that we actually do have the training for our Operation Verify Voters. We're training people anywhere in the country. It takes 15 minutes. They can do it from their own home. They know, who's moved or who's died on their street. If we get everyone motivated. Now, I know we're a little short on time, Stephen. I just wanted to read one little quick thing that hopefully will motivate people. I was at the fraud summit out in Vegas last week. And as most people know, I never write anything down. I just sort of wing it. This was the first time I actually wrote something down. And if people recall the movie National Treasure with Nicolas Cage, And you remember him reading a line from the Declaration of Independence, which then makes him decide that he has to steal the Declaration of Independence because it's backwards. So it's just one little brief thing here. It says, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for the future security. So what does that mean? It means that if there is something wrong, those who have the ability to take action have the responsibility to take action. And every single person that is on your call, that goes out to them. You can't unsee or unhear what you've been being told and shown, especially through Steve's program for the last, 3-4 years. So we all need to do something. It's our responsibility that our forefathers and founding fathers had actually put on our shoulders, and we need to do something now, not later, now. And the other final thing that we're doing with Fight Voter Fraud is any candidate anywhere in the country that wants a 20-minute interview, we will do it for them so they can actually push it out to their constituents. They just need to send an email to linda@fightvoterfraud.org. We've had people from all over the country, and we're really, really happy about that. But that's also our contribution to help us succeed. So I'll get off my little soapbox.
Kelly, you have any last minute remarks?
I just want to thank you all for the time to communicate that the RNC is fighting to protect the ballot box. We know that the midterms are right around the corner, and we are doing everything we can to secure the vote, make sure President Trump is a 4-term president, and win this election. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. It's always hard to get somebody from the RNC on, but we love you for coming on, and hopefully you'll come on again. Linda, you have any last minute remarks?
Oh, that pretty much covers it, Steve, except, hey, Velma.
All right. So our last speaker is very, very close friend, John Goodman. Now, John Goodman and I have worked very close for the last few years. He has some of the latest information. He has just gone on many shows. We try to get him on as many shows as we want because he spends so much time at the library, so much time looking up stuff, and most people don't do that. Most people just say, come from the seat of their pants. He verifies everything. So when he gets on a show, and he's going to tell you who went to the president for him because he gave him all that information. So John, come on down. You're our last guy coming on, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate it very much. Hello, everyone. So I want to first let you know, obviously, the midterms, we all know, is just 131 days away. And I'm not hating on the SAVE Act. What you're going to hear me say, I don't want to be misperceived. The SAVE Act in last week's caucus had 48 votes. It needs 60. And even if every single Republican voted for the SAVE Act, it would still need 7 Democrats to vote for it because the Republicans never broke the filibuster. I've worked with Peter Tickton and Jerome Corsi on occasion, not every day, but on occasion on certain election issues. And this national security emergency is the direction that President Trump is leaning towards, just as you heard Peter and Dr. Corsi say so earlier here on the call. And the reason that being is because even if the SAVE Act somehow did pass, I don't know how, but if it did pass, the law is that even past legislation can be challenged if something in that past legislation is deemed unconstitutional. And you know, Mark Elias is going to say banning men in women's sports is unconstitutional, or you're suppressing the vote with limiting mail-in ballot. So once again, it would end up in appeals court and be adjudicated before the midterms. And the SAVE Act does have value, like maybe 2028 or 2030 when the Democrats are trying to get illegal aliens counted as American citizens. But we have to, with 131 days, say what can realistically be done to save the midterms at this point. And Peter outlined what could happen to President Trump. He could be removed from office. And Jerome Corsi quoted the 1983 Supreme Court ruling, which is very clear. The case is called INS v. Chadha, CHADH. And it clearly says the only way to overturn a presidential national security emergency is both, again, both the House and the Senate must achieve 2/3 majority vote within 6 months of the day a president signs a national security emergency. So this really is the only hope, realistic hope that's left that can't be obstructed by Democrats, rhinos, or by judges. Once he signs it, it takes effect, and the Democrats are nowhere close to having 2/3 majority in both houses. Now, I will say this. President Trump, as you heard Jerome Corsi say, I have a copy of it, and a few other people on this call do also. President Trump did a 17-page executive order, which was basically the SAVE Act on steroids. And I have a draft of it, but he never released it because he was told that he wouldn't have to deal with challenges and judges because the SAVE Act, a new bill, was going to be released and it was sure to pass. But it hasn't worked out that way. So the national security emergency is the way to go. Wayne Allen Root, who I've worked with recently, he knew about the executive order, again, which can be challenged, but he asked me about a national security emergency, and I did digging and found that case law from 1983 and notified Peter Ticton, Jerome Corsi, and Tina Peters' other attorney, John Case, who all reviewed it, because I don't release anything, as Steve said, until I know for sure, or else the credibility is down the tubes. So we have to do the verbiage right, and I'll be closing in a moment, Steve. We have to do the verbiage right. Executive orders can be challenged, but national security emergency cannot, unless they get the 2/3 majority in both chambers. So we want, please tell your friends, the SAVE Act is not going to pass. And the SAVE Act, this is where I say I'm not hating on things. The SAVE Act, oh, we've got this. Okay, so I'll end. This is Wayne Allen Root on Saturday, 2 minutes and 11 seconds, basically saying a lot what I'm saying. So I'll just stop right there and let that video play and we'll be done, Steve. Please, everyone, tell everyone that the national security emergency has everything election-oriented that was in the SAVE Act, plus hand count paper ballots, which was not even in the SAVE Act. So that's what I want to say. And I also want to last say, I'm worried that Republicans will boycott voting in the midterms because they're disgruntled that the SAVE Act didn't pass. That should be a concern. And that's why it's important to message that this national security emergency has everything in it the SAVE Act did, plus, plus, plus. Okay, if that video, Melissa, thank you if you were able to do it, and I'll just let it go.
All right. So the number one story is the SAVE Act. All right. So the number one story is the SAVE Act. As I keep repeating on this show again and again for months now, stop believing in fairy tales, fantasy, delusion. There will be no SAVE Act passed by the cowardly and bribed Republican Senate this year. Before I read the headlines, I got to repeat the solution. Forget the SAVE Act. It's weak, it's ineffective, and it will be taken to court. It will never be in effect for the midterms, even if it were going to pass, but it's not going to pass. So stop talking about it. We need a presidential national security emergency for elections. It's the SAVE Act on steroids. It's the perfect Trump style attitude. Strong and Save Act. It addresses not just proof of citizenship and voter ID, but mail-in ballots, and gets rid of machines. And instead we have paper ballots, and it can't be challenged in court. The Supreme Court ruled in 1983 it can only be challenged by a 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress to overturn it. And that will never happen. It will be in effect for the midterms. President Trump went in a national security emergency. John Thune went on national TV this week and made it clear he cannot get the SAVE Act passed, and he rejects Trump's demand to attach it to FISA, and he whines it would tank the bill. And then Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat of Arizona, goes on TV and says the Save America Act isn't going to happen, not because of Democrats, but because there's not even enough Republican support. They only have 48 Republican votes, and you need 60 unless you get rid of the filibuster, in which case you need 51, and they don't have it. Stop talking about the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act on steroids, Trump style, is a presidential national security emergency for elections. It's my invention, and John Goodman, my election expert, worked on it with me. And I'm telling you, Jerome Corsi is working on it at the White House. It's the only way to go, President Trump. Do it.
You want to put me on, Melissa?
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
So we can go to Stern American Rumble to see this live. If anybody has any questions, you can email me or call me. Here's the information. Go to theflagshirt.com. Few more days left before you can ship for the 4th of July till next Monday. www.theflagshirt.com. 72 years in business. stern1054gmail.com. 954-562-5225. Get your shirt for Steve Bannon. Standwithbannon.com. We'll review a little bit. Velma, you want to come back on and talk a little bit about Precinct Strategy, Precinct Project, USA.org. Please sign up for that. We need more people to sign up. As soon as Velma's finished, Melissa will put on the final little commercial, and we'll sign off until August. Go ahead, Velma.
I just want to look back historically a little bit. I think that with the 2020 election, a lot of folks didn't really get involved in politics until then, even before that with the health freedom movement. That historically, even if we go all the way back to the Tea Party, which I think is when Steve Bannon and Dan Schultz started to get involved with Precinct Strategy, and when Precinct Project started to emerge, then there's a lot of folks who've been involved with Precinct Project in their local communities going back at least 40 years. So, and if I'm going to go back even farther, I think Joel Brazil, who's our Wisconsin state lead with Precinct Project USA, he found a booklet that you can find on our website, all the way down at the bottom under resources. The RNC had a guidebook, I think in the 1960s. So there's a lot of things that just don't change over the decades. But I think what happened with the 2020, with COVID and with health freedom movement, and then with election security, folks started getting involved. And I just think it's really amazing how Steve Stern was able to start with Precinct Strategy and then move into election security. And now I think it's everyone's kind of moving under kind of shared umbrellas, which I think is so important. And, when it comes to our First Amendment rights, that what happens locally, right? Think local and it impacts nationally. So getting involved at the precinct level, whether it's election security or poll working or poll watching or, getting out the vote, being that official representative as a precinct committee person, working with your county GOP, working with your state GOP or one of the local committees, working with a civic group. I think there's so many different ways that you can participate that the options are really endless, but what really matters is getting involved. And that's what we're trying to do with Precinct Project USA, is just help people to find where they feel comfortable getting involved, and then keep moving forward together and continuing to grow the tent.
So you have a little company. Tell the people how to get in touch with you and how they can get, donors, et cetera, et cetera.
I really appreciate that so much. So for the past 12 years, 13 years, I was running a company called Washington Marketing Group that actually started per the request of President Ronald Reagan. We're talking about going back a ways. And so now I'm heading this company, and we have over 3 million donors, and a lot of them contribute to the party. And they've been contributing to the Republican Party, the RNC, to the GOP-backed campaigns, congressional campaigns, Senate, gubernatorial races for many, many years. And the information is available at dcmarketing.us, dcmarketing.us. And so as next generation owner of the company, what I'm doing is I'm opening up the Rolodex and making this data also available to local races. So whether you're running for mayor or for county commissioner or for state legislator, or if you're in the primary, everybody should have an opportunity to have access to, conservative contributors who really just want to see the best for our country. A lot of them are MAGA, a lot of them are America First, a lot of them are Reagan Republicans. So it's the gamut. But what really matters is reaching out and staying involved and connecting locally and knowing that you're not alone. So that's why I'm opening the Rolodex to try and make those available. So dcmarketing.us is that, and so precinctprojectusa.org. You can reach me either way.
Thanks a lot, Velma. Thanks for co-hosting with us. Melissa, thank you so much for doing everything. You did a fantastic job. You want to close it with a little video, and I'm going to say goodbye. I'm not going to come back after the video. I'll be on vacation in July. I'll see you in August. Thank you so much for watching, spending the 3 hours or more with us. It takes a lot to do this. I'm a little tired today, so I'm going to rest tomorrow, take about 15 minutes off, and I'll be back in action.
I'm Steve Stern, CEO of Flagshirt.com, a third-generation, veteran-owned small business. I believe that the American way of life is for all of us. I'm asking you today to visit Flagshirt.com. Help keep the American dream alive. Be a flag waver. Carry a nation's heritage. Use coupon code ACTION10 for 10% off site-wide and buy a flag shirt today. Action, action, action.